Hey, ever seen a jellyfish zooming through the ocean like it's on a jellyfish speedrun? It's not swimming, it's jetting like a jet plane but with tentacles and no wings. So how does this underwater jet engine work? Let's find out, and maybe answer why your cat doesn't have a jellyfish on its head. Imagine if your body was made of water, and you could shoot yourself forward by expelling water out of your back. That's basically a jellyfish. It's like a water balloon with a heart attack, but way cooler and less messy. So jellyfish jet through the water by contracting their bell and shooting water backwards, physics, but with a side of tentacles. Stay tuned, we're diving deeper into the jellyfish jet engine, and maybe a little bit into why your fish tank is a bad idea. So what exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about the little jellyfish you see in a bowl of punch, or the ones that make you question your life choices? They're not just blobs with tentacles, they're like the ocean's version of a disco ball, glowing, drifting, and slightly terrifying. And let's be real, they're not just floating around. They're jetting through the water like they've got a secret mission. So we're not just talking about a jellyfish. We're talking about a marine creature that's basically a jelly-based jetpack, which means we're about to dive into how these squishy space creatures move through the ocean like they've got a secret plan. So you're not just watching jellyfish for the drama. You're watching for the science. Think about it, every time you see a jellyfish, you're seeing a living example of how to move without a brain. It's like a water balloon with a weird sense of style. And here's the kicker, jellyfish are basically the original eco-friendly transport. No fuel, no engines, just a little bit of electricity and a whole lot of tentacles. They're like the Tesla of the sea, but with more gelatin and less charging ports. Also, if you're into the whole I want to be more efficient vibe, jellyfish are your new role model. They can move through the ocean with zero effort, which is basically the ultimate work-life balance. And let's not forget, jellyfish are part of the ocean's food chain. They're like the unsung heroes of the sea, supporting everything from tiny plankton to humans who eat them. They're basically the seafood of the sea, but cooler. So yes, even though you might not care about jellyfish, you should. Because if you didn't, you'd be missing out on a whole world of weird, fascinating, and slightly terrifying marine life that's way more interesting than your average dinner party. So jellyfish have been jetting around since the Cambrian explosion. Back when the seas were basically a giant, squishy soup. They were one of the first animals to ever really move through water, like the original speedrunners of the ocean. Imagine if a squid had a bad day and decided to turn into a jellyfish. They're like the water version of a floppy disco ball, all wobble and no control. But hey, they made it work. For millions of years, they basically did their thing, stinging, drifting, and occasionally eating a plankton snack. They didn't need to evolve much because the water was their playground, and they were the kings of the slow-mo, no-gear movement. But then, some jellyfish got clever. They started using their tentacles not just for stinging, but for propulsion. Who knew you could jet through the water by squirting water out of your tentacles? So while other animals evolved legs, wings, and fins, jellyfish stayed true to their jelliness. They're the original couch potatoes with a side of stinger. And honestly, I think they're just having way too much fun. So imagine you're a jellyfish, and you're like, I wanna go places, but I don't have legs or an engine. So you just puff up and then let go. It's like when you blow up a balloon and let it go, boom, you're flying. You don't have a heart, so you don't have to pump. You just fill up with water and then, poof, you're zooming. It's like a water balloon with a personality. You're basically a living water balloon. You're not moving, you're just expanding and collapsing. It's like a sneeze, but with more jelly. You don't have a brain, but you do have a nerve net. It's like a nervous system without the thinking part, just a bunch of wires that tell you to puff up and go. So yeah, jellyfish don't jet, they explode. And that's how you go from being stuck in the ocean to being a little underwater rocket. Cool, right? So jellyfish aren't just floating around aimlessly, they've got a plan. Like a real plan. They're basically underwater architects but with tentacles and no blueprints. First things first, they need a place to live. Not like your messy dorm room though. They prefer the ocean, which is basically a giant, salty spa for aquatic creatures. But wait, how do they even get into the ocean? Well, they're born in the water, literally. They're like baby jellyfish and they're already ready to jet around, no training required. Now to power their jetpack they need a fuel source. And guess what? They use their own body as a battery, like a jellyfish-shaped power plant. So they have this special muscle, called the cnidarian muscle, which is basically the jellyfish version of a supercharged engine. It's what makes them move with that jellyfish jetpack style. Okay, so the jellyfish has this bell-shaped body, like a giant cupcake with tentacles. When it wants to move, it basically squeezes itself like you squeeze a stress ball, but way more dramatic. This squeezing makes the inside of the bell get super full, like when you blow up a balloon. But instead of rubber, it's a soft, flexible jelly stuff. Now, the jellyfish's body is like a water balloon that can't hold the pressure. So, it basically lets the water escape through the edges of the bell, like a water balloon with holes in the sides. As the water squirts out, it pushes the jellyfish forward, like when you let go of a balloon and it zooms away. It's basically a water-powered rocket but with more tentacles. And to make it even cooler, the jellyfish can control how much water it lets out, like a faucet. So it can go fast or slow, like a jet with a brake. Okay, so they're not just floating around like a bunch of squishy marshmallows. They've got this clever twist, like a secret handshake with the water. It's basically a way to say, hey, I'm not just drifting, I'm moving with purpose. This twist is actually a contraction. They tighten their bell like a jellyfish version of a bicep curl. It's not just a flex, it's a powerful squeeze that pushes water out and creates that jet effect. The water gets pushed out super fast, and that's how they move. It's like when you press your hand against a wall and then let go, the wall pushes back. But with jellyfish, the water pushes them forward. So to recap, they contract, water is pushed out, and that's how they jet through the water. It's not magic, but it's pretty clever for a creature that looks like a floating cupcake. So here's the real deal, jellyfish don't really jet. They kind of float like a balloon with a weird twist. They use their bell to push water out, and that's how they move. It's like if your stomach was a jet engine, but you could only expel water. And instead of going forward, you just sort of bounce around in circles. Kinda like a confused jellyfish. Their bell is like a flexible tank. When they contract it, they force water out through the edges, and that pushes them in the opposite direction. It's physics, but with a splash. They can also slow down or stop by letting water flow back in. So they're not really jetting, they're more like floating in reverse, with a side of style. So next time you see a jellyfish, imagine it's just trying to make a move, but with a really weird sense of direction. And maybe a few extra sprinkles of jelly. So imagine you're a jellyfish, and you're basically a floating jelly donut with a heart shaped like a jellyfish. You're not swimming, you're just floating through the water like a slow-motion jelly donut on a trampoline. Your body is like a bag of water with some stuff inside. And when you contract, you're basically squeezing the bag and shooting water out the bottom like a jelly donut with a jet engine. It's like if you took a balloon, filled it with water, and then pinched the bottom to make it jet out, except you're made of jelly, and you're doing it all the time. So you're not really swimming, you're just moving through the water like a jelly donut on a slinky, up and down, side to side, but never really going in a straight line. And honestly, if you're a jellyfish, you're probably just happy to be moving at all, because your whole life is basically a slow-motion jelly donut on a trampoline. So here's the part that sounds like a sci-fi movie. Jellyfish actually have a brain, but it's not like yours. It's more like a tiny control panel with a few buttons. This brain isn't doing complex thinking, it's just managing the basic stuff. Light, movement, and maybe a little bit of danger detection. Like a remote control for a toy, but way cooler. The real shocker is that most jellyfish don't even have a brain at all. Some species are basically just a blob with a few nerve cells, like a brainless blob on a string. So they're not like you or me, no thoughts, no plans, just basic instincts. But somehow they're still one of the most efficient swimmers in the sea. Nature is wild, huh? So here's the first myth. Jellyfish jet through the water like rockets. No, they don't have engines, they just kind of float with style. They don't jet like a jet ski. They're more like slow-motion superstars, moving with grace and a little bit of drama. The real thing is, they move by contracting their bell like a heartbeat. It's not jet propulsion, it's more like a squeeze and a glide. Think of it like a belly dancer. They move with rhythm, not speed. It's all about the flow, not the force. So next time you see a jellyfish, don't think rocket science. Think slow, graceful, and full of surprises. So I've heard some people say jellyfish don't really jet through the water, they just kind of float. Like they're not actually moving, they're just being carried by the current. That's a weird way to say I'm not the hero of this story. But here's the thing, buddy, if you're just floating with the current, you're not really going anywhere. You're just being a passive passenger, and jellyfish, they're not passengers. They're the captain of their own ship, or at least the captain of their own tentacles. So if they're not just floating, what are they doing? Well, they're using a special kind of jet propulsion. It's like a super-powered slingshot, but with water and tentacles. They basically create a jet of water by contracting their bell, which is like their body. Then they release it, and boom, they're off like a rocket. It's like a slow-motion water gun battle, but with a jellyfish. So the idea that they're just floating is a myth. They're actually doing some serious jet propulsion, and if that's not enough, they can even go backwards. Like they're not just floating, they're also doing some reverse driving. That's the real jellyfish move. So you're probably wondering, why does this jellyfish jet through the ocean like it's in a movie? Well, it's like your phone's battery when you're charging it. It's not just moving, it's doing it with purpose. And guess what? Your phone does something similar when it's charging, it's using energy to power up. Think about when you're on a plane and you're doing the I'm not touching anything thing. Jellyfish are doing that too. They're not really swimming, they're just using their body to move. It's like when you're on a roller coaster and you're just hanging on for the ride. And here's the kicker, your fridge does something similar when it's cooling down. It's not moving, but it's using energy to make things colder. Jellyfish are doing the same thing, just in the water. They're not swimming, they're just using pressure to jet around. So next time you're in the ocean, or even in your kitchen, remember that jellyfish are just doing their thing, using energy to move, like your phone or your fridge. It's like when you're playing a video game and you're just pressing buttons to move. They're not really moving, they're just reacting to forces. In the end, jellyfish aren't really swimming, they're just using their body to move like a rocket, and it's kind of amazing. You can see it everywhere, in your fridge, your phone, even in the way you move. They're just doing their thing like you're doing yours. So imagine this, a jellyfish is like a superpowered jelly, but instead of floating lazily, it's trying to escape a hungry predator. It's like a slow-motion race but with tentacles and no wheels. It doesn't just float away, it actually zooms forward by contracting its bell and shooting water out like a jet engine. It's basically a living jetpack, but with a soft, squishy body. It's like if a balloon tried to race a car, but instead of burning fuel it just squishes and shoots water. Wild, right? So next time you see a jellyfish, remember, it's not just drifting, it's jetting through the water with the grace of a jelly and the power of a rocket. Okay, so the fastest jellyfish isn't some fancy schmancy super jelly. It's just a regular box jellyfish, but it's basically a speed demon. You know how you can't really go faster than a car on a highway? Well, this jellyfish can go faster than a car on a highway. And it's like, I don't need a speed limit, I'm a jellyfish. It can go up to 10 miles per hour, which is like the speed of a fast bicycle. But here's the kicker, it's not even trying hard. It's just, I'm a jellyfish, I can do this. It's like if a sloth got a turbocharger and a helmet but still looked confused. And here's the real question. Why would a jellyfish even want to go that fast? Maybe it's just trying to escape a predator. Or maybe it's like, I'm going to be the fastest jellyfish in the ocean, and I don't care if it's a little weird. So in conclusion, the fastest jellyfish is like a kid with a toy car, but in the ocean. It's not about being the best, it's about being the fastest. And if you're a jellyfish, you're already doing pretty well. Just don't try to race a whale. They're like, you're not even a real jellyfish. So next time you see a jellyfish, you can say, hey, you're not just floating around, you're jetting through the water like a jellyfish superhero. And if it's the fastest one, you can add, and you're doing it with style. So here's the thing, jellyfish don't wear seatbelts. If they get flipped upside down, they're basically a sea version of a sad pancake. They can't swim properly anymore, and their stingers are like a broken phone screen, all cracked up and useless. Imagine if your favorite floaty suddenly decided to do a backflip, and then couldn't float back up. That's the jellyfish when it's upside down. It's like a water balloon with a bad day. And the worst part, they can't just flip themselves back over. It's like trying to turn a pancake right side up with your feet, you're just gonna end up with a mess. Sometimes the jellyfish gets so flipped, it's like a sea version of a sad emoji. Literally upside down, no control and no way to get back to normal. So yeah, jellyfish are like the ocean's version of a wobbly toy. If they get flipped, it's a slow-motion disaster that's both funny and kinda tragic. Nature's got a weird sense of humor. So yeah, jellyfish are basically water-based jelly donuts. But here's the catch. Those donuts are made of mostly water, and they are kind of like a walking wet dream for predators. You'd think they'd have some kind of superhero defense mechanism, but nope, they're just floating around like they are in a bubble bath. And if you're a hungry fish, you're like, oh look, a jellyfish. I can just nibble on it like a snack. And the jellyfish, well, they're like, thanks for the snack, but I'm not really a snack. I'm a snack in a swimsuit. The thing is, they don't really have a way to fight back. They're like the ultimate slow-motion target. And if you're a predator, you're like, this is my lunch, and I'm going to eat it slowly and enjoy every bit. So yeah, jellyfish are basically like, we're cute, we're jelly, we're not really safe, but we're still cool. It's like a water-based version of a slow-moving disco ball. You can't really hit it, but you can definitely feel it. In the end, the jellyfish are like, we're not the most powerful, but we're not the least. We're just here, floating around doing our thing, and hoping no one notices we're made of water. So that's the downside of being a jellyfish. You're basically a walking snack, but you're still pretty cool. It's like being a water-based version of a slow-motion superhero. Not the strongest, but you can't really hurt anyone, so it's kind of a win. In conclusion, if you're a jellyfish, your biggest threat is not the ocean, but the fact that you're basically a walking snack. And that's the downside nobody puts on the brochure. So how did humans even figure out jellyfish jet through water? Well, back in the day, people thought jellyfish were just floating around, like lazy sea jelly donuts. But then, someone decided to actually watch them swim, not just assume they were lazy. They started taking videos, like really slow motion videos, and boom, there it was, the jet. It's like a jellyfish is doing a slow-mo cannonball into the water, but with a body that's more like a jelly donut than a cannon. And then, scientists got really into it, like, how does this thing even work? They started measuring, timing, and even using fancy cameras to see what's really happening under the water. They even did experiments with models, like making fake jellyfish out of rubber and seeing how they moved. It's like, okay, if you're a jellyfish, you just shoot water out and then you float along, like a jet-powered jelly donut. And now we know, thanks to people who are like, let's actually watch these things move instead of just assuming they're lazy. It's like, who knew jellyfish were basically underwater jet engines?